This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised. Okay, well, welcome to a podcast of rare antiquities. Today we review the finale, season 1 of Picard. Geoff, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back in our series of COVID-19 editions of Podcast of Rare Antiquities. So
that's right.
It's good.
Episode 10 of season 1 just premiered, and I just got finished watching it maybe 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, perfect. So let's get right into it. What did you think?
Whew, lot to take in here, dude.
There is a lot to take in. Yes.
Yeah. So no one feeling or sentence is gonna capture it, I don't think.
No, it won't. We'll go through the whole episode as we normally do, but just give me your first high-level thoughts. Did you like it? Do you think it's a good finale for the season?
Okay. Yeah, I think it was a good finale for the season. I think I would say that it was maybe a perfect finale for the season because it had the same highs and lows that the season itself had. All of the great things and all of the problems of the whole season presented themselves in this episode.
I would agree with that. I have difficulty classifying how I feel about this episode because if I could just take 5 minutes and clip 5 minutes into a nice little segment and just watch that over and over again, I would be in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I know the 5 minutes you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, and that's probably 5 minutes of TV that was very emotionally resonant with me, and I didn't expect to have that in the finale here. If that was the entire season, this would be a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
If that was that kind of quality. The rest of the episode here, again, as you said, I would say as more on the lows, and it brings up some questions, but it does leave, I guess, a sense of direction on what's going on for season 2, in a sense. Not that there's a cliffhanger storyline, but just you get a sense of what the crew is going to look like and how things are going to proceed. But I had some major problems with the episode as well, so I guess that's all I'll say for a beginning segment. So why don't we get right into it here? So obviously we just watched it. I didn't have time to prepare notes, so I'm just going to kind of wing it. So Picard is being held up there. Soji and Soong and the other androids are building a beacon that they are trying to get to this other synthetic area of the galaxy. They're going to send this signal and open up some kind of conduit or whatnot or wormhole that's going to allow this android presence to come in, and it's going to be an apocalyptic event. This thing or race of beings is going to come in and wipe everything off the face of anything anywhere in the galaxy or in the universe, and then I guess would take all the synthetics back with them once their reign of terror was done. What did you think of this whole thing? Let's just focus on that.
I mean, like we talked about it a bit last week or our last episode about that concept, which like the synthetic federation, we'll call it, that's sort of waiting out wherever to rescue synthetics that once they've kind of reached a certain evolutionary stage, save them from their inevitable extinction at the hands of the organic life forms, which is lifted directly from Mass Effect, pretty much. Like, as an overall concept, other than it is ripped off from a video game, and a great video game, but still is fine, I guess, as a concept. I guess the problem we get is that it is sort of a faceless evil. Star Trek is typically not about faceless evil, Even the Borg wasn't really. I guess maybe the Borg kind of was faceless evil at the start.
They had faces, Geoff.
Well, they had faces, technically. But
I know, I'm just joking with you.
So it doesn't feel very Star Trek-y to have just a villain that's like that, And obviously they have their reasons, but when we finally see them, and then there's these weird sort of mechanical centipede tentacles.
I thought it was like Dr. Octopus was coming through there.
It kind of, yeah. It did look kind of like. It's just kind of cheap it's kind of cheap sci-fi. Like it didn't feel up to the standards of Trek. Like so, like I think they
Yeah.
had the right idea. It's just they didn't hit it. They didn't execute it right.
No, and I agree with you. This is cheap sci-fi. This is you're right. Faceless evil. I really don't understand what really the point of this whole thing was, and I want to get to that at the end. It's just for Picard, I guess, to turn Soji around against this faceless threat, and for her to make the right decision to become, so you don't have to live up to this potential prophecy or destiny, and you can choose your own fate. It's funny. I still had Terminator vibes through this whole thing. So, but that's just me. But I agree. I don't think it was strong, and I don't think that this faceless threat was a good MacGuffin for the season, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So let's talk about now what's going on on the Borg cube here. So Narek escaped in the last episode, right?
Right.
And now we have on the La Serena, we have a scene where Rios and Raffi are trying to power up their ship again. And he's saying because the antimatter chamber is empty or broken, they can't power up the ship. And they can't power up the ship or do anything to help power up the ship because they have no antimatter. So all of a sudden, here comes, very convenient currency device. Where did they get this thing that all of a sudden, just if they think it does whatever it wants to do?
The androids gave it to him in the last episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, okay, I forgot about that, and I probably blocked it out because it's stupid. So, I don't know. I didn't like this. I think we're talking about cheap writing here again. I don't know. What did you think about these scenes? And this thing comes into play again later with Agnes.
I didn't like the later thing that it came into play with. I guess I didn't care about it much in this scene because, at first I'm like, okay, well, they're just using magic at this point. But if you're going to use that criticism, then all of Star Trek falls apart because every technology they use is magic. Warp drive is magic, transporters are magic, replicators are magic. It's all phasers are magic. Like every shields are magic. Every technology in Star Trek is magic. So
I wouldn't. Okay, so I don't want to have this episode be bogged down with that kind of discussion. Well, I agree that all the techno babble in Star Trek and all the tech is magic to us. However, I believe that a lot of what they were trying to do in Star Trek and the original, all the other shows, there was still some, I wouldn't say a scientific basis behind it, but they disguised everything in the dialogue and how they approached solving the matters with some kind of basis in Star Trekian science. I'm going to solve this problem by doing something like this, and it kind of felt like a real world solution if this universe existed. This device here is Conblood. It is just, I'm just going to point to anything and I'm going to think about what I want and it's going to happen. And I think that's where the difference is.
I guess what they're wrestling with here, and I don't disagree with you. I didn't, with this piece of technology, I didn't really give a shit because like TNG was, when they first came up with it, was very advanced compared to the original series. Like they had to kind of envision like, okay, what are going to be the further advances in technology? So we already imagined 300 years in the future. Now we got to imagine 400 years in the future. What are the changes? So they're kind of doing the same thing here. What are the other advances in technology? And I guess this is what they came up with. It's not terribly ingenious or clever or narratively satisfying. You're right. It comes down to being a fairly convenient device, but they could remove it and then they could have just repaired the ship, and that would have been the same end goal or the same end game there, where they would have just fixed the ship and done a different technobabble. So that's why I was just like, all right, well, they got this device that's made by these other advanced guys, and even they're baffled by it. So like I was just like, I was just kind of dissatisfied with it, but I was willing to just be like, all right, it's fine. Let's just fucking move on with it. It wasn't sticking with me. I was like, okay, it's fine.
Okay, so then Narek, he went before this scene, Narek visits the Borg cube, and apparently his sister is still hiding in the
I thought
depths.
She left.
Yeah, she apparently beamed out when she killed Hugh. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too. I was like, wait a second. Is this like, I thought it was like a ploy or something, like a hologram that they were using to trap Narek. I was like, why is she still here?
She's there for a simple reason, for I would say, catfight. I don't want to label it down that way, but I don't want to label it that way, but that's essentially the purpose of why she's all of a sudden there without any reason to how she got there. And unfortunately, that's what we get.
We needed, somebody, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I guess that's the reason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But let's focus on Narek. So I guess he says some shit to his sister, and he says, "Hey, I did my job," and I don't know what he's saying to her now. Like he's going to grab some explosives and he's going to fight the synthetics. So he leaves.
No, his plan was his plan, as he communicated to her, is to steal the explosives to blow up the space orchids, which were the only sort of planetary defense system. So the
Romulans could attack. Yeah, okay.
That's right. Yeah.
But then that's what he tells her. But then he goes back just right after the La Sirena is being repaired there. He is in front of the ship telling Raffi and Rios to help him.
Yeah.
But they don't go after the orchids. They go back to the village.
He's asking for their help because he doesn't want to murder Soji. Like he doesn't want the Romulans to destroy this planet. He wants another plan here because he's in love with Soji.
Ah, okay. So I know he was kind of begging to her later afterwards, or pleading to her, I would say. Yeah, I was just a little confused. And just a little thing. I mean, what happened to Narek after all this? I know I'm jumping ahead here because, then why don't we just focus on them going back to the village then? So they're going back to the village. Agnes steals the eyeball from the dead synthetic or destroyed synthetic from the last episode so she can open the door to Picard's room. And then she's saying she's going to help him escape, and she does. But while this is happening, Rios brings his soccer ball.
Yeah.
I really thought for a little while there that he was actually just going to kick the ball.
He should have just kicked the ball.
Yeah, he should have just kicked the ball and live up to the stereotype.
Yeah.
It's
like one of those like
scissor kicks, like bicycle kicks. Yeah, the bicycle
kick. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have done the bicycle kick for Pele, right? It's like, and then after he hits her in the head, he goal.
That's what he should have just smoked Soji right in the face with the ball.
What the fuck was in that ball?
Yeah.
The bomb?
Yeah, one of the explosives.
That's an interesting thing to kick around your ship, I guess.
No, but that was one of the explosives that Narek stole from the board.
I realized that, but then he was able to put that in the ball.
Yeah, they constructed, they just replicated a ball around it.
I actually thought that was his soccer ball.
No, he doesn't keep explosives in a soccer ball. Because you're right, that would have been a very curious decision.
Yeah, I was a little perplexed with what was going on there, but I really hope I thought he was going to kick it. I really thought that's what was going to happen. So
I did too. Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
So their whole plan there was just to blow Soji up. I'm assuming
blow up the beacon
blow up the beacon. But I don't really understand what else happened in this scene. Narek goes there, he gets tackled by and pinned down by the other androids. His plan fails.
Yeah.
Rios kicks the ball, which opens up the explosive. Soji catches it, throws it into the air, and it explodes in the air, so no damage.
Yeah.
What was Raffi doing, and then what happened after this point?
I mean, Raffi was just their plan was to just infiltrate the village. Like, here's the Romulan traitor. Stupid fucking androids, don't give them an escort, and now they're sneaking around. Which I was just like, did I miss a scene here? Because they show up and they're like, oh yeah, here's our weapons. Yeah, no problem. Here's my pack and everything. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, because I thought they were
they
were talking about it and envisioning their plan. So but it wasn't the case.
No, not at all. And then right after that, because the guards, super intelligent androids, were okay, and just let them in. And then the next scene is Narek sort of stealthily climbing, looking up at the thing, and I'm like, well, wait a second here. Where's the escort? I was like, they must have cut a scene out here because now it looks like they're just on their own. They just let them in, these random organics. It was really weird. But basically what happened, right? So they get there, they're in the square, and and Raffi and everybody, they're just trying to play it cool while they execute the plan, which the plan completely fails.
It was bizarre. It was a bizarre scene. I did not. It was so fast, and I agree with you because it felt like we were missing scenes. I was getting confused.
I liked that plan failed so quickly and spectacularly, which I actually liked because it was such a terrible half-baked plan. It was over so fast. I'm like, yeah, that checks out. It was just a brutal fucking plan. Good for 3/4 of our main cast.
So I have a question for you. Yeah, I have a question for you. I have no memory of what happens to Narek after we see him pinned on the ground.
I believe we do not see him again.
Yes, he is not seen again in this episode.
No, I don't think he is. I think that was it for him.
Yeah, and even Soji's on the ship at the end, which we'll get to.
Yes.
So where's Narek?
Maybe the androids ate him.
I just kind of wish they would have given me like a Poochie scene where Narek, they just have that like little thing go up, like I have to go now.
I just watched this Netflix documentary series called Tiger King. So maybe they fed him to their android tigers.
Maybe.
I know they didn't have any android tigers. They had an android Spot and an android Butterfly. Maybe they have an android pig farm and they just chopped Narek up and fed that motherfucker to their android meat grinder. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a little odd for such I wouldn't say he's not a major character, but you got to wrap something up.
He was a series regular, like his name's in the opening fucking credits. Like, so yeah, I didn't even think about that until you said it. Like, what the fuck happened to him? Like, I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about now the Borg cube. After everyone, I guess, leaves, like Narek leaves, and you have 7 of 9 still there, but you have the sister, like Narek's sister, hanging around, and she's just there so 7 has an action scene.
Yeah.
And it was over very quickly, and she kicks him down, and that was, at least she said, like, that was for Hugh. I didn't enjoy as much as I enjoyed 7 kicking butt. I didn't enjoy the sequence here. I felt it was very anticlimactic, and it was just not shot well, and it was just over before you knew it. I don't know what you thought.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with how the action went. Like, this isn't, The Raid or, some Hong Kong action film. It was okay. It's just not a very Star Trek thing to do, to have, like, a fight and then kicking somebody into a chasm. Like she Gerard Butler's that bitch right down into the bowels of that fucking Borg cube.
Well, this was very Nemesis. This was just like, and there's lots of ties in, of course, we'll talk about to Nemesis, but this was also Nemesis with Riker kicking that Riemann motherfucker down off the bridge there, and he falls down the bowels of the Enterprise.
Did Riker kick a guy in Nemesis? I don't remember that. I remember him fighting that guy in like an empty turbolift shaft or something. I remember that, but did he like?
I thought he kicked him. I thought they were hanging and he kicked him and then he fell. Yeah, that's
maybe. Right. Yeah, maybe. It's been a couple years. Yeah. Did he yell out, "This is Sparta," before he fucked him up?
No. Come on, man.
Okay.
He should have said, "I have had enough of
enough."
You. That's Star Trek right there. So
I forgot about that. Now that would have been better. Yeah, it was. I don't know. Yeah, I guess they have to kill the bad guy.
That's right.
That's all it was. I don't know why it was.
But I think my beef
was the one who had to do it. But
I don't mind 7 doing it. I have a couple problems here. One problem is just the way it's shot, and it's very modern take, and there's no build up to it. So it's just like we see her, she's on the ship, and there's I'm assuming there's still a whole bunch of active Borg around there. It just all of a sudden, in the midst of all this other stuff that's going on in this episode, we just jump right to here. She's just standing there in the open, doing nothing. Like, this is the sister, the evil sister, Tal Shiar agent. And then 7 just shows up, and then they just fight. And that's very modern.
She wasn't doing nothing, though. Like, she was trying to get the weapon systems back online for the cube in order to help.
Okay.
So, and then
fair enough.
Track her down, I guess.
I'll give you that, but the way it's shot and the way the tension, like the scene is led up to, to me, it amounts to nothing. Like, it is nothing. So that was my problem here. What about the Borg, Geoff? They're part of Star Trek lore, connected heavily to Picard. This season has been about synthetic and artificial life, the threat of AI. You've got the Borg here, and nothing amounts to that at all. They're not linked to anything.
No, they don't play into the end of the. Like, I thought they were, that cube was going to be part of the end game here. They have the, big battle or something, but they're not. Yeah, not much happens here.
No, but there's one part of it just playing into the current episode, and there's a battle. Mm-hmm. But what about tying everything into the main story? I'm not saying I want a story of, this whole thing is leading up to, say, how the Borg was created or something along those lines. But I'm just saying you would think that the Borg would tie into this whole thematic purpose of the season.
Right. You'd think so.
You would think so, and it amounted to nothing.
But you'd be wrong if you thought that.
You're okay with that? It's just okay, meh, it wasn't.
No,
I think it's a missed
no,
opportunity.
I'm not okay with it. Not at all. No,
So,
it's
well, here's your chance. Talk about it.
yeah. Well, like you're right. It's a miss. Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's kind of it, though. I mean, you decide that you're going to bring back this major piece of Star Trek. Like this is a big piece of Trek, right? The Borg play a major role in TNG. Obviously, they're not really around on DS9, but they're a big catalyst for a lot of what happens on DS9. Huge players in Voyager. And are in one of the movies, obviously, like one of, if not our most beloved Star Trek character of all time, Jean-Luc Picard. It's a huge part of his character. So you're going to bring him back for the show that's about Picard. Okay, makes sense. We're going to revisit the Borg. No problem. And some of what they were doing was great with Hugh and some of the struggle, like with the ex-Borg and so on. We're bringing Seven back and doing all this good stuff. And then they basically end up like Narek, like where they're just like, okay, well, I guess we're done with that now. Let's move on. I don't understand why you would do that. I understand part of why they did that, which we'll talk about maybe after we're done talking about the episode. But
okay, well,
I'm a little confused. I guess I just don't know why, and it is a missed opportunity.
Well, it is a missed opportunity. I mean, I just don't understand why the Borg were present in any of this, except for here's a connection to Seven, and here's just a kind of like a surface level connection to Picard that goes nowhere, as you've already mentioned, right? So it should have tied into this whole thread of synthetic life, like artificial life, in some manner.
They didn't even hint at that.
No,
the whole artificial life merged with organic, how that could. Like they didn't even go near that. Not at all. Wasn't even hinted at that was a consideration in this whole synthetic organic conflict. And the Borg are right there as a fusion of these two things, and they're just kind of like put their hands up and like la 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 la. Don't look over there. Why?
Yeah,
it's right in front of your fucking face. Shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Just I'm speechless that they played no role. And then even then, at this point, after episode 8 or 9, you're figuring it's going to not connect at all. And then, as you said, they didn't even play a part into any of the events of this episode, except for just it's a staging ground for Seven to beat up on the other chick.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. That closes the Borg. Maybe that story seems completely closed at this point, essentially.
I
guess. So now Picard and Agnes get to the La Sirena. So Picard's going to go out and stall with the hope of Starfleet eventually showing up to stop the Romulan armada that's coming to attack the planet. So he gets out there, and I think someone on the planet, like Soji, also launches the orchids again. Now, where did all these orchids come from? I remember the other lady in the previous episode said they had maybe 6 or 8 left, but I saw many more out in space in this episode. So that just didn't seem consistent to me. While I appreciate the orchids being relaunched again, I think it's a cool visual and a cool concept. Yeah, there was nothing going on here, and Picard tells Soji, "I'm going to show you and prove to you that you should make the right decision to shut down the beacon by sacrificing my life," or something along those lines. Like he's going to do it through his life. It's a little odd. I don't really know what he meant by that, because is he predicting he's just going to naturally die here? Because nothing. I believe so. Well, what gave him that instinct? Because he was lying comfortably in the room, and his head pains coincidentally just start after he tells her that.
Well, I think the reason he thought that is because he was flying a single ship into an armada of 250 Romulan warbirds. So, I mean, as far as lost causes go, you put that right up there.
Oh, no, for sure. What you think of? I mean, I don't want to jump the gun. Like, nothing much happens here. Starfleet does show up, and we get I had a little fist bump. It was fucking Riker, so I did yes, Riker.
Yeah,
but all these ships, it's kind of funny. All these ships are the same. The whole fleet's
exactly
the same ship.
Same. Yeah. I guess. I mean, it's funny. Like I had that same thought. I'm like, why do these ships all look the same? You look at the Romulan fleet, and like the Romulan ships all look exactly the same too, and always have, right? So I don't know. I guess if you're cranking out a fleet of ships just for battle, maybe, I don't know, because that's cheaper, I guess. I don't know.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Should the flagship of this fleet should have been the Enterprise?
I'm gonna say no. There's just too.
Because
It's a
Picard
little
does
on the
die here.
nose.
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah, it's a little on the
but
nose. It's too. That would be, again, we talk about coincidences and our coincidence currency. That would just be too easy. And I feel like we can't forgive the coincidences that at all. So like we can't forgive the ones that we would have enjoyed. And I know that would have been sweet, but it wouldn't have been right. No, they couldn't have put any Enterprise in this situation and have it feel right when Picard's not on that bridge and Riker's. It just wouldn't have. It wouldn't have felt right to me if it were another Enterprise, a redesigned Enterprise, because then I would have been like, well, who are these guys? I want to watch these guys on the Enterprise. Like, it just wasn't the place for them. I don't think at this moment.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I will concede. I kind of was hoping the reason why I'm saying that is I don't know at what point these people, well, the producers and the people behind CBS All Access and all that stuff, are confident in a season 2. So if this was the finale and there was series was not going to be renewed, we're at the point where we're kind of doing armchair quarterback here. And we know season 2 is happening.
Yeah.
But when you're making this thing and you don't know season 2 is greenlit and Picard's dying, essentially, here. We haven't gotten to that part. You don't think it would have been a good point to pencil in the Enterprise here?
I think not, because then you're not going to go back to it. And I think at the time they were making this, they knew it was season 2.
Maybe. That is possible.
This is their most successful show. CBS All Access, Star Trek Picard is their most successful original series. This show drove more subscriptions than, as far as I can tell, drove more subscriptions than any other of their original shows. And they don't have a lot.
Let's go back to Picard then. So, well, first of all, you tell me your thoughts. Riker.
I wish they had done this before. I wish they hadn't put his fucking name in the opening credits. Because as soon as I saw his name in the opening credits, I was like, okay, well, Riker's going to roll it with the cavalry.
I forward the opening credits. I don't watch them.
I never forward the opening credits. When I watch reruns of TNG and DS9 and all of that stuff, and Carly goes to hit skip intro, I'm like, you put your fucking hand off of that remote. Because I watch the intro every time I watch a Star Trek show and never miss it. Always watch it all the way through because that's how it's supposed to be. And that's how it always was. So I saw special guest star Jonathan Frakes. I'm like, fuck. I mean, awesome, but fuck.
Well, that just proves Carly's point and my point. So I do that. Well, I do that. I'm with you.
No, but you put his name. You put his name at the end of the episode. That's all you do. It's not like Jonathan Frakes needs fucking top billing. The guy knows who he is.
I agree. They should save the surprise, 100%. No doubt about it.
There's more to it than that, but but awesome that he was there wearing Starfleet duds. It was great.
I did love it. I had a nice smile on my face because I just love me some Riker, and he should be here at this moment, and that's great. Now let's get into Picard. So he dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what'd you think?
Sure does. Well,
what'd you think of just this developing, the lead up to it? Did it hit with you on any level? And did you anticipate it? I anticipated it. It was a dead giveaway when in the previous episode they revealed that other body, artificial body. So to me,
that's right.
To me, this all fell flat for me. I felt nothing. I felt nothing.
You said it on our last episode that you predicted it, and I was like, they're not going to do that. And then as soon as I'm like, he's going to die. They're totally going to put him in that synthetic body. Oh, okay. So then that did rob it of all of the emotional weight that they were trying to give it. So they kind of undercut themselves because they overplayed their hand. We already know there's going to be a season 2. You telegraphed the synthetic body and all this. So everything you do now, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to let myself get sad and emotional about this because I know they're putting him in that android body. Like, let's just get on with this already here. So everybody, it's like crocodile tears from all the characters. They're all sad that he's dead. I'm just like, he's fucking fine, guys. Just come on, get over it. He's okay. But the characters don't know that. They're mourning legitimately. But I'm like, it's one of those cases of dramatic irony where something that the characters don't know, but it's not usually used to this effect where it makes me angry. that they're doing it. Like it's usually used for tension, and they weren't. That's not how they were doing. They're trying to play it straight, like, oh, hey everybody, he's actually dead for real, and we're all really sad about it. Like,
yeah, it was good. It was a good 5 to 7 minutes of people talking about it.
Well, if it had actually been legit, and this was his actual death, and he didn't get transported into a robot body, it actually probably would have been pretty legit. Thought they did a good job. I thought, what's the actor's name there? She was really good, and I thought Space Elf was really good as well, and like everybody was good. Like they were good. They all played it really well. But I'm just like, he's not fucking dead, so come on.
I'm with you 100%. I didn't. Unfortunately, I think this needed to be handled better through marketing and the reveal of season 2 and the reveal of that body. I mean, come on, man. You do that, you automatically know he's going, and then you automatically know he's doing that. What you shouldn't have done, I don't know, what you maybe shouldn't have done is don't reveal that he has that aromatic syndrome at the beginning and have him legitimately sacrifice himself in some way. He gets shot in the back or whatever, saving Soji or doing this or whatnot, and then you put him in the body, and I think then at least people who don't know there's a season 2 would be surprised.
Or I guess you could have just skipped all of that altogether, like, and just not have him die. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to end this. It's like it's season 1. Like you don't need to end the season with him with the fake out that he's done. Like just don't have him die. Why? Because he didn't actually sacrifice himself. He went to sacrifice himself, got his ass saved by Riker in the Federation, and then like his brain exploded, which had nothing to do with it just had to do with his aromatic syndrome. But yeah, like you said, you could have just left that out. Like we know he's fucking old. We know he could just kick over at any time. Like didn't matter. Like you could have just skipped all of that shit,
I agree with you, Geoff. I wasn't a fan of how it was handled. However, be that as it may, I'm more than happy with how it was handled because of his transference, I'm assuming going into a robot body or android body, we get an amazing 5 minutes of television that I haven't seen in a long time. That was personal. It meant a lot to me. So I will give you the honor of telling me what you thought about him talking to Data and what this all meant.
I mean, yeah, if this was what they needed to do to get this scene into the show, then yeah, I guess I'm all for it as well. Like I don't have a problem conceptually with him being transferred into the android body. Just maybe how it was telegraphed was well, whatever. We don't need to go through that. But yeah, this scene was terrific. What a beautiful scene. Oh, man. Yeah. They could have just filmed this scene, and that could have been season 1 of Picard, and I would have been great. Perfect.
And I 100% agree with you. If this was just season 1 of Picard condensed into this 5 minutes, masterpiece.
Yeah. Oh, it was magic, baby. It was magic.
Yeah. I was emotional.
I was too.
It was saying goodbye to Data all over again, and I didn't think I needed to go through that again. And this was a very perfect send-off to their relationship and to the character of Data and what he means to Picard, and it was handled beautifully. Fantastic.
Oh, it was gorgeous, and they both did such a good job. Ah, man, it was so good.
It was great. Good. And it was very Trek. I loved it. And it was very Trek. And as you have kind of, you've hinted at this too, it's kind of the culmination of Data's journey. He did die physically, but I guess because of this, mumbo jumbo nonsense of his neurons still floating around up there, which is technically a huge stretch, but be that as it may, if there is some form of consciousness beyond death, and this is it for Data, he's saying, I now need to rest in peace. And he doesn't want to exist. He wants that finite existence, just like humans. And that's the end of his journey to become as human as he can be. And it's fantastic. I thought this is so Star Trek. It made me so happy. I was over the moon here.
Yeah, it was great. I guess I have some questions though.
I don't want you to question it, motherfucker. Can't we just have a nice moment?
We can have this nice moment.
No, go ahead and question it.
We're having it. No, we're having the moment. We're having it. Okay. No, I don't want to ruin it. But so does this mean that as they transferred Picard's consciousness to his new robot body, they had him hooked up to the data simulation?
I'm not even sure if this is a simulation. Well, you know what I kind of think is,
Hmm.
correct me if I'm wrong, this is my interpretation. Part of creating I'm assuming part of creating these synthetics is using some aspect of Data's positronic net that they've somehow done that mumbo jumbo capture.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
he is living through those USB sticks.
Yes. Those huge USB sticks.
Yeah, what happened to ergonomics?
Holy
Nothing.
shit. Well, like, god damn, USB sticks are what, a tenth of those size today?
Yeah,
Man, those things are like hockey pucks. They're huge.
that is
Like,
correct.
I know it's a set.
So-
I know Data's a big man, but come on, like they were bigger than his head. The whole thing was bigger than his head.
That's right. But I feel he's somehow living on through that, and he cannot essentially die.
So is it like they're used? So that contraption that they have there, they need that in order to like infuse consciousness into the
Yeah.
androids that they build there, right? Okay, yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
right.
That makes
So-
sense. I can go with you on that. Yeah, okay.
So I'm assuming that's the Star Trekian mumbo jumbo that they're using there for Data.
Yeah.
And so because of that, he's saying to Card that I am still here in your new robot body, but I will need you now to in that helped create your positronic net.
Mhm.
But I now need you to get rid of it so I can actually rest in peace.
Okay, I can go with that. Okay, so then the other question. Okay, so that's fine. I'm with you on that one. That makes a lot of sense. So then the other question then I guess I have is then Data, but then Data kind of does live on in all of these androids then though, right?
We don't know. I would think so. Again, this is
Like,
the part of the.
I'm just waiting for
mumbo
Picard to
jumbo.
like wake up in the middle of the night next season and like Data's there in his bathrobe, being like, "Well, like I'm a part of you now, baby. Like, I'm in your head 100% of the time now."
Why, Captain? You have to do a lot of man's grooming down there.
Yeah, exactly. Query: are you fully functional?
Yeah, but I loved all of this, and it
Wow,
wasn't.
so good.
It wasn't on the nose to me. I'm assuming if Picard was lured back to Star Trek in any way, it might have been just for the scene. I'm not sure. I don't think the scene was written, obviously, at that point, but it might have been discussed in early development. And I thought whoever wrote this dialogue, they nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I mean, any other thoughts? I loved everything. I loved the goodbye. What'd you think of him kind of aging there as he's pulling out the chips? Like Picard's now woken up in his body. We'll talk about that in a second, but he's pulling out the chips, and Data is slowly, whatever's remaining of Data in this software, in this program. This is a little bit more on the nose. He's now aging. I'm not sure I enjoyed that aspect of it, but
I think I'm with you. I think it maybe that visual wasn't necessary.
No, it wasn't necessary.
It didn't blow it up either. It was fine. Actually, I would have liked to have seen, because Patrick Stewart's sitting there, Picard's sitting there in his old Starfleet uniform, and I would have liked to have seen him more there, but
yeah, I agree with
he's
you.
not actually there either, right? We just kind of get one shot of his face, probably a double for the rest of it, but that's okay. I mean, the rest of it was nice, where he like prepares his pillow, he's like drinking his brandy or whatever, and lies down and gets ready, like all of that, his smoking jacket or whatever he's wearing there, that all, even the setting where it was like kind of looked like Picard's vineyard, but everything was coated in that gray. I love the setting. I thought it looked great. So it was all.
It did. And then you got
really
the
good.
music, the same one they used in Nemesis there.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful emotional touch.
It was a beautiful emotional touch. And what a way to make something out of Nemesis, which basically took a big fat dump in all of our throats 15 years ago, right? To make that something now. Like now Nemesis can have a place in canon, whereas I just try to kind of ignore it. Now it almost feels like it's been legitimized, if you will.
No, Nemesis has been completely legitimized. 100%.
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure before. The pilot had some promise, and I wasn't sold, but this sold me. Nemesis has been legitimized. 100% agree. Before we move on to the rest of the episode, maybe at this point, I'll raise my glass of whiskey to Data as a goodbye. I loved his goodbye, Captain, at the end there, and that was fantastic. So here's to you, Data.
Here's you, Data.
Again. So
Again.
Again.
I always keep saying goodbye.
So Picard is now an android, and I kind of enjoyed the scene around the table there where he's kind of having his first sip of tea in his new body there, and he's asking a couple questions, and he's saying, well, I'm not immortal, am I? And they're saying, no, we didn't give you any superpowers, and you're going to live like a natural life that a normal person in today's society, futuristic society, would live if you didn't have your erotic syndrome. And then I loved how he says, you couldn't have given me 10 or 20 years more.
So. Yeah, but he even seemed, even when they said you don't have superpowers, he looked a little disappointed.
Yeah.
So that was a really good moment. Yeah, they're like, no, you're not immortal. It's fine. Don't worry. You're an old man. You're gonna die an old man without any superpowers. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Dude. This is just software. You can't fucking change that. So
I was waiting for him to like reach up to his shiny head and be like, come on.
I wish he was saying, really? Fuck! Come on!
Like, there's one little thing, guys. One little thing. Like
you couldn't make that one change for me?
One thing. I'm sure he's packing a hammer, though.
That's... Sure.
I'm sure he was already, because it's Picard, but he's fully functional.
That's great. And I guess that wraps up the show. At the end there, you just get the shot of them on the crew. And Seven's now joined the crew, it looks like. At least that's the impression we're getting.
She was holding hands with what's her name
Raffi,
there? So,
Raffi.
Yeah, with Raffi, yeah. So I assume she's part of the gang now. I'm all right with that. I love 7 and 9.
Yeah. I mean, she's part of the gang. I mean, that's the impression we're supposed to get for season 2 there. And not sure about Soji. She's free to either stay or they'll drop her off somewhere and she'll have a life. So that's the episode there. That wraps up season 1 of Picard. What you think? I guess on these wrap up scenes and.
I like the wrap up scenes quite a bit. I like the last scene where the kind of crew comes. They're all on the bridge together. There, I thought it was. Maybe a little bit. It kind of ended how a lot of Star Trek episodes end, right? Where the crew's all on the bridge and everybody's like, hey, save the galaxy again, everybody. Wicked. That's right. Set a course for wherever. It was good. I kind of like that last scene. Maybe a little bit saccharine, but that's cool. I can dig it. I dig it.
I'm fine with how it ended. Like that last shot and he goes engage, and that's a nice little wink to the audience, and who knows what will happen next season. Brand new situation. So that's it for season 1 of Picard, Geoff. So I guess let's talk about the whole season now. What'd you think?
I guess it was kind of a roller coaster in not a good way. It felt like I was pulled in a lot of different directions. And like we reviewed every episode and we talked about a lot of things. And there's been ups and there's been downs. And like we get confused at certain choices the writers make and the characters make. And we're like, why didn't they do this? And they brought in this thing that could have done, like they brought in the Borg. They didn't use the organic synthetic fusion there in a season that's about organic versus synthetic and like all this other kind of shit, right? Little like threads that they seem to try to be weaving in, and then they don't tie it up, they don't pay it off. So it was frustrating in a lot of ways because it was like it was teasing us, And along the way, they make questionable decisions, and every Star Trek series has made questionable decisions. Like I watch reruns of Trek all the fucking time. I don't know about you, but I watch reruns all the fucking time. And I'm watching, I'm like, okay, well, they did this on Picard this week, and I was mad at them for doing it on Picard, and they're doing it on TNG, and I'm like, oh, this kind of works. Why? What's the difference? And I don't know. I have ideas for why, but I'll get into that after maybe your thoughts. But I guess that's kind of how I feel, is I'm kind of mixed on a lot of it, but when you get Patrick Stewart, it's worth it. And when you get Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner in a room as Picard and Data having a scene like that, shit, man, it's worth it. Was the whole series great? No. But was it worth it? Yeah.
I would say if you want to kind of frame it in that way where if I had to get through all of that season or this season to get to that 5 minutes, yes, it's worth it. That 5 minutes we talked about, of that goodbye to Data in a very satisfactory way to say goodbye and have closure, yeah, it's worth it. But I agree with you 100%. This season has been a complete roller coaster. There have been some minor highs, and I'm saying minor. It has been for me mostly, and I've been holding on to this word, Geoff, disengaging throughout the I have not been as engaged as I was hoping to be when, like, the pilot was very promising and I enjoy the pilot. After that, I have been let down again and again and again and again. And I have not had a lot of fun watching this show, despite the still good performance from Patrick Stewart, but he is surrounded by people I'm not that connected to, I should say, for a variety of reasons we've talked about. Seven is a pleasure to have here and there, but based on what now I'm seeing again and how the character, what her function is here, she still was not written well. And there's a lot of missed opportunities there. There's a couple of gray moments with Seven from a writing perspective. I'm not talking about action perspective. Action, that's all she's doing. But she deserves better than that. I think Picard deserves better than that. I think these other new characters deserve better than that. I mean, I know you're a fan of, Space Elf or Space Legolas there, but he's
I
just...
love him.
so
good.
He's fucking useless.
Oh, he's so useless. He's the Travis Mayweather. I call him the Wesley Crusher, but he's not Wesley Crusher. He's the Travis Mayweather of this series.
Yeah, he's worse than Wesley. Like, he doesn't even get that. So
he doesn't. Well, Wesley did shit.
Yeah, Wesley did shit. He had his own episodes too. Yeah, so this poor guy. The other characters, I'm really not a fan of. I really detested Agnes's character throughout this whole show. Surprisingly, I do like Alison Pill, but I am questioning unfortunately, her acting credentials here. But I think it's more on the writing that's really screwing her over. Rios is okay. You don't really get to know any of these characters. Raffi had a little bit of more depth there. What happened to her son? So you introduce all this, and now it's just dropped. So
yeah, he was a fucking dick. Fuck him.
Well, you know what I mean. So I mean, there's a lot.
I do know what you mean. Yeah, they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, none of these new characters were had justice done to any of them. So I don't give a motherfucking rat's ass about any of that. So that's a fail. You want to say, if Patrick Stewart's coming in here and saying, I don't want to do a reunion show. Sure, I'll have some cameos from my old buddies here from the old show, but I don't want to be hanging around them every episode. So if you go down that route, you better be developing your supporting characters well. And that's not done. Mm-hmm. Not at all. Not even one of them. So it's a fail. And it pisses me off. And I still felt like, to this episode, the finale finally was more centered around more on Picard and his whole relationship with Data and what his goal was and stuff like that. But I also feel like his relationship with Soji is manufactured. I know he wants to do the right thing because she's kind of like Data's progeny. So there's a purpose there, and he wants to do well by her. But there's still not a great relationship there. It's kind of, nothing's really there. In essence, nothing's there with him and the rest of the crew. So what am I watching? And Picard was kind of taking a backseat to the rest of the characters for the most part until this episode, the second half of this episode. So when the second half of this episode kicked into gear, you're more engaged. Again, pun intended. So I'm extremely frustrated and disappointed with this series so far. I don't think it's very good, but I do agree that to get to this 5 minutes of perfection. And again, it's with Data and Picard and Data. It's not Picard and anything new. It's with Picard and Data again. And I love it. But what was the point of this series so far? I really want to ask you, what was the point? Because I got through a lot. We went through a lot of crap, in my opinion, or in your opinion, a lot of mixed stuff to get to 5 minutes of perfection. Is that an excuse for this thing to exist?
I guess there's a lot of layers there. If we're talking about like excuse for it to exist, I mean, I've talked to other Star Trek fans. I'll tell you the opinion of my mom. How about that?
Okay.
So my mom is a diehard Star Trek fan. She watched the original series on TV when it originally aired. When my brother and I were growing up and we were little kids, It was William Shatner on fucking reruns on TV, going to the movie theater, watching Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, all that stuff. Like,
this is compulsory material for anyone.
It was compulsory material for anyone, but my mom made sure that it happened for me and my brother. Mm-hmm. When TNG came on, it was appointment viewing because my mom would not miss Star Trek. And so as Picard came on, like she was over at my house, she's like, she watched Picard, what do you think? And I told her, and I kind of went over some of the things that you and I talked about on the show. And I'm like, what did you think? She's like, I didn't pick up any of that stuff. I thought it was great. I loved it. Like, she was watching William Shatner in 1967. She's like, this is great. I love it. Been there every step of the way. And she's watching this. She's like, this is great. I love it. So like when I hear that from somebody who I know is legit Star Trek fan, like my mom never put on ears and went to a convention or anything like that, but she's gone through all of these moments in Trek history that you and I have, more than you and I have. She was there when it started, before you and I even existed. Mm-hmm. So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, then maybe this is something more. Like, you and I pick nits because that's what we've decided to do on this show. Like, that's what kind of made this show about like digging into stuff. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. We should do that. And we're going to continue doing that. But I don't know, it gave me a little perspective. I was like, okay, well, I just like took a step back when I had that conversation with her. And I've had a few conversations like, did you watch the episode this week? I'm like, yeah, I wasn't sure about this, and this. And she's like, oh, yeah, no, it was fine. Like, this was really good. I'm like, yeah, I guess so, it was fine. So I just, like, I guess it's kind of, maybe I've grown like Picard. I've just softened up a little bit. And this is fucking serious as I used to be when I was younger. Now that I'm old now, I'm just like, oh, okay, I dig it. Now, all of that being said, if you'll allow me to continue my long monologue.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm drinking whiskey, so continue.
Yeah, me too. So yesterday I read a very in-depth interview. I think it was in Variety, or it was Hollywood Reporter or something, with Michael Chapon, who's the showrunner for Picard season 1. It was actually a really, really good interview. He talked a lot about the show. So for those of you who are listening right now or may not know, so Michael Chapon, this is his first showrunner experience on TV. He's actually a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist. He's written a couple of my favorite novels of all time. So I know the guy knows character, and I know the guy knows how to write a story. But one of the things he said, which I thought was really interesting, is one of the challenges that this show presented was they're like two dials, like on an Etch-a-Sketch. Like an Etch-a-Sketch has two dials. And in the context of the show, one dial is character, one dial is plot. And traditionally speaking, especially TV in general, but science fiction especially, is very plot driven. So that means you plot out a story and then you kind of plug characters into it to react how you need them to react to advance the plot. The original series is this way. TNG was this way. DS9 was this way. And they had the luxury of having a lot of episodes. They could build those characters out, but they were not character driven, especially. In fact, they usually had to make the characters, they would have to kind of twist them around a little bit to make the decisions they needed to make in order to advance the plot. And so what he felt was in this show is that he felt that he was trying to turn both of those dials on the Etch-a-Sketch in order to create a perfect 45-degree angle between plot and character. And it's you try to pull in one direction too hard, then you got to pull in the other one, and that's really, really difficult. He's the guy who made the show, and he's the one who said it, and that's kind of what's been in my mind the whole time, not in those words. I'm like, yeah, we're really struggling with making this character-driven show, but also having it being very plot-driven. So I can see that created a lot of the issues I think that you and I are coming up with right now is related to that struggle that they've had between trying to make it character-driven and plot-driven equally at the same time. It's really not possible. And I know you've criticized the writing on the show, and I think in places that's true, but the writers are good. They have good writers. They just have a structural issue because they can't reconcile plot with character-driven. And another thing that he said was that the mandate for the show from Patrick Stewart, because Patrick Stewart was the driving force. If they didn't have his okay, there was no show. Had to follow his direction. And one of his directives was, we can't do Next Generation Part 2. everything has to be. I don't have any interest in doing Next Generation Part 2. Come back and play Picard. It has to be different. It has to be fresh. It has to be interesting. And one of the things that you had said, I don't know, it was last episode of the before, where you're saying that you just didn't want to like hang out with his co-stars and share the screen time. And that isn't exactly the case. The case was that he didn't want to just be the captain of whatever ship or the Enterprise, giving orders to Riker and Geordi and all of them. He would have been fine. He's fine with all those characters being on there, but what he wanted was something new. So they're going to bring in, one of the mandates was that they're going to bring in elements from the previous show, from TNG, that would be new or different. Something had to be fresh and engaging. Otherwise, it wasn't worthwhile, because we've already done the old stuff. And I feel like that was where they were like, well, we got to bring the Borg in. We got the card. So what did they do with the Borg? They did actually some cool stuff with the Borg, but they didn't go far enough, or they didn't pay it off, right? So I think they were fighting too much with just the existence of this show to make it exist. And that is where all the problems came from. So it's a really good interview, just to seek it out, to read it. Anyway, he's not the showrunner for season 2, by the way. So we're going to get something presumably fairly different.
I don't know really how to respond to that, Geoff. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're limited to 10 episodes, but I call BS on... I appreciate Patrick Stewart saying, I want to do something fresh, and he doesn't want to do the same old thing. Well, I'm okay with that. I don't mind there's a new captain here. Let there be a new captain here. Great, no problem. You got Rios, you got these other guys, right? But I guess some guys, Gabe, and my goodness, I'm not even going to bother to pronounce the other one. How's it going? So,
how's it going, guys? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying here. I just feel it's a cheap way of, okay, Gabe itches. There's your shout out,
bro.
Yeah, scratch that itch. There you go.
Because you don't need that in your life, man. Get some antibiotics.
You got some eczema problems going on there.
Or I hope it's just that.
It's dry heat.
Yeah. It's funny because anybody who listens to this show perhaps in the future will be like, what are these fuckers talking about? Thanks for joining the show, guys. Good. Just shout out. Appreciate everybody listening. We're just shouting out people who are joining the show. But anyway, Carrie can... okay, hold on. I'm just gonna stop. You can't call BS on... Well, you can call BS.
Well, that's my MO. I always call BS.
No. I followed this writer's works for 20 years. I know how much of a hardcore Trek fan he is before he was ever involved, decades before he was ever involved in this. So I know that he's legit in his intention. I'm not saying that he pulled it off, because he didn't. Like, I think we can agree to entirely pull it off, aside from a few scenes here and there. But I feel the heart behind it. I feel the intent behind it. It's not an excuse. I didn't quite nail it, but I don't know what I was trying to say. Go ahead. You were saying things.
No, well, I'm just saying, I mean, I'm all for, as I said, he's saying we can't do the same old thing. No problem. We got to follow what Patrick Stewart wants. He has some mandates. I'm not saying I want Next Gen 2. I don't want Picard just captaining the Enterprise around all of the old crew again. But what justice did we do to the character of Picard is my first question. And what justice did we do to the new characters that that his new crew is? Like, all these other new characters here. What was the point? What was the purpose? So I want to really focus on Picard. We already talked about throughout all the other episodes that we reviewed that the other characters have not been done justice. I want to focus on not just I want to do something fresh and be around new people. And what happened here with this character? What was his development outside of just closure with Data? And we got 5 minutes of brilliant writing there, but outside of that...
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I guess we don't get... I mean, there's no closure there because we're not done with the story yet.
Hey, Sylvie, just letting you know. Sylvie joined us, so how you doing?
Welcome aboard, Sylvie. Thanks for...
And bye, Sylvie.
Well, thanks for nothing, I guess. Gabe Bitches is still our man, right? Gabe Bitches? Attaboy.
No, the other one. What? Sorry, PBG 9 Cabby something party. Man, that's a hell of a name.
He has ventricular cabin fever. I know what cabin fever is. I don't know what ventricular means. And we both have degrees, and we don't know what ventricular. Do you know what ventricular means?
Something to do with the blood vessels, I'm assuming, and the heart. There you go.
Okay, good enough. So he has cabin fever of the heart. I guess I can understand that. That makes sense. So, okay. back to the show. All right. I guess what's funny about what you say, like the development of Picard, is he only developed past the point that he had developed to off screen. Because what he learns here is like the same thing that kind of like Kirk had told him in Generations was like, don't let them promote you, don't let them transfer you, don't let them do anything that takes you off the bridge of that ship. Because while you're there, you can make a difference. And I believe that's an exact quote, and that's pretty good because I haven't watched the movie in years.
It is, but
you
should know it off by heart anyways.
And I do. So this feels like, at the very least, he gets there again. He's like, why did I retire? I still have a show I can offer. I should be out there. I should be fighting. I shouldn't have given up before. But because we didn't see him make those choices before, it's a little bit manufactured in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he after we left him in Nemesis, and the crew is, after Nemesis, the crew is fractured, Data's dead. Riker and Troy go off to do their own thing on their own ship, so he's left with Geordi, right? Because Worf also fucked off, right? So he's left with Geordi. And as much as I love LeVar and Geordi, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go do this other thing. Geordi, thanks.
Geordi still gets no love.
Still gets no love, man. He probably has a holodeck simulation with Picard. He's
there you go.
He probably has a simulation of Barclay at this point, poor Geordi. But it's like he left, like things happened to make him leave and all of that. And this is sort of the rebuttal to that. Like he made a mistake, and he didn't make that mistake on purpose. He stood up for what he believed in and got kind of drummed out of Starfleet. And this was his chance to make that right. But we never saw him get drummed out of Starfleet. We only saw it in flashbacks in this series. So they kind of manufactured the conflict to kind of give us the message of the show. It's kind of trying to justify its own existence. And I guess it's okay. I mean, I still love seeing Patrick Stewart as Picard, especially these last few episodes. He grew in strength as the course of the series went on. So it's one of the things I'm glad for. But
I just feel that there needed to be more here for the character. We already talked about what was the Borg's involvement and why couldn't that been more intertwined into the theme of synthetic life and all that stuff. It just feels like there has been a lot of missed opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was just a grab bag full of ideas that in the writer's room, and it was just like, I grabbed a whole bunch of ideas on some shredded paper and I threw it at the screen and here you go. And then, oh shit, it didn't pad out. Now I got one episode left and there you go.
It does feel a bit like that, for sure. And you know what's odd about that is that, like, they kind of break the whole season, not necessarily one sitting, but they kind of break the whole season. Like, okay, overall, here's what we're doing. And then they break the individual episodes after that to kind of fit into the overall season. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that they're trying to fit the character stuff and the plot stuff equally. And that's one of the dangers of breaking the whole season like this. When you have serialized shows and a season arc, you run the risk of not giving the characters the payoffs that they need, right? And then everything, all the character moments feel kind of shoehorned. And I think that's what happened here. Like, we had too many characters, I think, for 10 episodes. We could probably have done without Agnes, right?
I agreed 100%. Yeah.
And I like Alison Pill too. And I thought she did as good a job as she could. Like, she just wasn't given much to work with. And I thought she did as well as she could have with what she had. She just didn't have much. So I kind of feel bad for her. Same with Elnor. Elnor's his name, right?
It's like, what a shitty name too, eh?
Space.
They couldn't even do the name. They couldn't even do the name credit. Any credit.
It's so weird. Justice. Like, okay, they create the Romulan guy and they make him as Middle Earth as they can with the long hair. He's already got the pointy ears. He's Romulan. He's got the sword. He's so elfish. And to top it off,
the outfit too.
And the outfit. And they fucking straight up give him a name right out of Middle Earth. It is not a Romulan name at all. It's not to apostrophe something, or, you know what I mean? It's so fucking Middle Earth. And I don't know. It was weird, man. And I liked him a lot, but, like, what's the fucking point? Get rid of him too.
No point. There was no point. There was no function. The character had no function.
No function at all. Because he's like, I need you to come along because I'm an old man and I need somebody to kick ass. I mean, he only decapitated like 3 guys in the whole show. Like, come on. That's it?
Forget about the decapitation. There's nothing else to the character.
No, there's nothing for him to do. And they could have... I feel like what this show needed more was more of a ragtag. I think they were going for the ragtag feel, but they have all of these like two former Starfleet officers who obviously know how to kick ass. They got like the foremost cybernetics person and this badass Romulan and a android who could pull your eyeballs out with her toes. Like it should have been Raffi, Rios,
yes, and Picard.
And Picard. Well, they need Soji because that's the driving.
That's
piece,
right. The crew should have been reduced to, in the characters, Raffi, Rios, and Picard. Done. And then you could have really strengthened the relationship and the development of those three together as a trio. And you could have just used that formula of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Done something different, but that worked as a trio. And you could have done that here and really strengthen it in that sense.
Yeah.
So,
and real ragtag, like Battlestar Galactica style, like we're wits end hanging on by a thread here, trying to get this thing done, whatever it is they're trying to get done, But yeah, they got all this other baggage there, Like it's 10 episodes, man. You have fucking 6 principal actors in a 10-episode series, especially when you're only going to have 2, maybe 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's right. So I 100% agree with you. But then I guess, be that as it may, Geoff, then your overall thoughts on the season to kind of wrap things up here. What do you think? Like, is this a recommend? Is this a rare antiquity? And what are your thoughts of just leading into season 2? Like, where can this go? And would you be obviously, because it's Picard and Patrick Stewart, you're going to be looking forward to it. But just give me your high level thoughts there.
I'll give the season like a 6.5 out of 10. I'll recommend it. I was never bored watching it, and I looked forward to it every week. And part of the reason why I was looking forward to it every week is because I was like hoping it would get better. I don't know. I think I probably enjoyed it more than you did. It was never a slog to me. I liked it. I had problems with it, but yeah, give me more. Is it a rare antiquity, as we do on our show when we talk about that kind of thing? That's too early to tell. Probably not. I mean, modern TV is a very different animal than what you and I usually analyze. So, but yeah, where can season 2 go? In the immortal words of the man himself, Bob Card Stud, nothing wild, sky's the limit.
Fair enough. If you want to put a numerical value to the ranking of this, I'd give it a nice 4.5, I would say. I feel
under 5? Really?
Yeah, I'm going under 5, man. I'm giving it a bare fail. This is not Rise of Skywalker garbage shit level stuff that's going on here, but it deserved better. The character deserved better. The story writing deserved better. These new characters deserve better. So from that perspective, we keep talking about when we review other things, it's all about characters and story. And if nothing is service there, despite there being some peak highs, or momentary highs, it's not enough. So I can't give it a pass. Was it a slog? I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a slog. I still looked forward to it every week. When you talk about your mom and other people enjoying it and stuff like that, I can get it. I get it. I'm not going to berate them for their opinion and for people to enjoy it or not enjoy it.
That's good, man. My mom's spirit, she fuck you up.
Fair enough. I don't want to go down there. So, and if people enjoy it, I think that's fantastic. Just the story writing and the disservice to the characters is just too weak for me to give it a pass. Despite me seeing Picard again, that was my fear going in. At least there was elements of the spirit of the character. That's what I'm happy about, that spirit remained intact. If you recall, before we started reviewing Picard, when the show was announced, I think we were talking about Discovery, and based on how things were tracking with other things in Star Wars and stuff like that, I was like quite nervous about how they would service the character of Picard. So at least from a spiritual perspective, he was serviced. So I'm happy about that. The story for the character deserved better, especially now that the character has, spoiler warning, he is dead. So, but still living on in an artificial body. So I'm still looking forward to season 2. I'm not sure where they can go with this for the character now. I mean, the sky's the limit, I guess, as you said there. So we'll see. They're not limited or, restricted to anything that they can do or experience. So anything can happen. Here's hoping that, the selfish part of me and the fan in me still sees some old crew members pop up occasionally.
Yeah. Well, we know we're going to see Gunn,
but I really
know that's happening, right? So that's
right, I guess. Cool. Here's the funny thing. I think on this quest of the quest for data, or the search for data here, I really do think Geordi should have been involved.
Yeah.
In some aspect here. Instead of Riker, maybe Geordi should have had his episodes here.
Yeah.
I think that would have been more appropriate. And the other thing here too, Geoff, we hinted at this earlier in another episode. I do think Q needed to be in this season 1 here, especially with the natural body of Picard dying in some aspect. But then when he did die, you're robbing, like, Q couldn't have been part of that. That had to be how it played out as how we saw. So with Data. So hard to say. I do think Q should have been somewhat prominent in this first season here, and then that could have been it. So it's a bit disappointing for me. I was hoping that would have happened, but here's hoping maybe season 2 he'll make fun of him in his new body.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. I mean, you never know, right? I mean, I know they've already broken the season. They have the layout for season 2 already. They haven't written all of it yet, but it's ready to go. So
yeah, well, here's hoping Picard to reach for that undiscovered country of good consistent storytelling. We could raise our glass to that, I guess, to round out.
Here's a clink to him and Matt.
I think that we should call it here. I think we were going to probably touch base on Discovery season 2 and the state of Trek, but I think this is an appropriate place to call it.
No, I agree. We have just for people who are listening, we should plug the show. So those of you who are gracious enough to have hung out with us for our episode tonight, check out our other episodes where we typically review older, sort of forgotten gems movies from the past. So check that out, because we're huge Star Trek fans. We do this sort of as an aside.
That's right. And also I think we did Discovery season 1 as well. So eventually get posted in maybe the year 2256.
Yeah, exactly. In 100 years, when you're those of you who are listening,
we're slowly editing and putting.
Well, no, I mean, I figure like in 100 years during the next global pandemic, when you're shutting in and needing to listen to something, hopefully this brings you comfort at that time when like pterodactyls are fucking coming out of the sky, picking people up off the street. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, I guess that's it, right? So we're going to get back to our regular routine next time, I guess, right?
That's right. And what was it? The Black Hole?
The Black Hole. Disney's The Black Hole, which we had announced a few months ago that we were going to do. But we're gonna roll in with our analysis of that. Should be a lot of fun. We'll get that up real soon.
Sounds good. And thank you. My goodness, I cannot pronounce that. PBG 9 Cab F389 Party. There you go.
I think it's not a word, man. I think he's ventricular cabin fever. It's his fucking name.
Yeah, if you're still listening, cheers. Thanks for joining us. And Geoff, I will see you on the other side.
All right, man. Back to then.